The phone slipped from my fingers, landing on my desk with a loud clatter. Through the speaker, I could still hear Marcus laughing, proud of himself for what he thought was the ultimate betrayal. My name is Diana Chin, and my husband had just given away my family's beach house, the one passed down for generations, to his 26-year-old mistress. You're too quiet, Marcus said, his voice full of smug satisfaction. No tears? No begging? I expected more drama from you. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. That house was my inheritance, Marcus. My grandfather built it, and now it belongs to someone who will actually appreciate it. When's the last time you even visited? You're always too busy with your consulting work to enjoy anything. His words almost made me laugh. My consulting work? The business he always dismissed as my cute little hobby? That very same business had been funding my secret purchase of shares in his company for the past year. You're right, I said, keeping my voice calm. I have been very busy. In fact, I should go. I have a shareholders meeting to prepare for tomorrow. There was a pause, then his voice sharpened. Shareholders meeting? What are you talking about? Oh, didn't you know? I'm attending Parker Industries' annual meeting. See you there, darling. I ended the call before he could respond, savoring the moment. Marcus had always underestimated me. To him, I was just a pretty, supportive wife, someone to show off at company events. He never cared about what I actually did for a living. When we met 5 years ago, I was already a successful business consultant, specializing in corporate restructuring, but Marcus, riding high as CEO of his family's company, only saw what he wanted, a beautiful woman who seemed impressed by his success. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs. He dismissed my career, constantly reminded me of his own importance, and even interrupted me in meetings to explain things I already knew, but I thought I loved him. Losing the beach house was my wake-up call. 6 months ago, I overheard Marcus on the phone with Sarah, his much younger VP of marketing. He was planning romantic getaways at my grandfather's house, the place where I had spent every summer growing up, where my parents got married, where I learned to swim, surf, and dream. That was when I started looking into Parker Industries' financial records. What I found was shocking. The company's financial records were a mess: fake numbers, exaggerated profits, and a board of directors too loyal to Marcus's family name to question anything. Marcus had no idea that while he was off with Sarah at my family's beach house, I was meeting with investors, pointing out the financial issues, and suggesting that maybe it was time for new leadership. I picked up my phone and called my lawyer, Rochelle Kim. He did it, I said when she answered. He actually transferred the beach house to her. I could hear her typing in the background. Perfect, that's the last piece we needed. The property transfer has already been flagged for the SEC investigation. How did he sound? I asked. Smug, she replied. He still has no idea about tomorrow. None of them do. Rochelle confirmed. The shareholders are ready. The board members who switched sides are staying quiet. Everything's in place. I walked to the window, looking out at the city skyline. The Parker Industries building stood tall, dominating the view. Marcus had chosen our penthouse apartment just for this site. He loved seeing his family's legacy towering over everything. What about the other documents? I asked. The proof of his affair with Sarah? The misuse of company funds? All ready to go, Rochelle said. We have records of every trip they took together, every gift he bought her with company money, including the renovations to your beach house. By the way, you'll be getting it back. The transfer won't hold up in court, especially with the SEC investigating him. I smiled, remembering how Marcus used to laugh at me for keeping records of everything. A good consultant is only as valuable as their documentation, I had once told him. He dismissed it as one of my quirky habits. One more thing, Rochelle added. Sarah sold her shares yesterday. Just like you predicted, she dumped everything as soon as Marcus gave her the beach house. Of course she did, I said. Marcus never understood that loyalty can't be bought, but disloyalty? That always comes with a price tag. I opened my laptop and reviewed my presentation for the shareholders meeting one last time. The numbers were shocking. Under Marcus's leadership, Parker Industries had been losing money while pretending to be successful through creative accounting and his family's reputation. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. What game are you playing? You're not a shareholder. I didn't reply. Let him wonder. Let him spend the night trying to figure out how his wife, the one he ignored and betrayed, could possibly be a threat to him. The truth was simple but devastating. For the past year, I had been secretly buying up shares through different companies and investors. Marcus, so sure of his power, never noticed the shift in ownership. By the time he gave my beach house away, I had enough shares to call for a vote of no confidence. Tomorrow, Marcus Parker would finally realize that the wife he underestimated had become his biggest threat. The beach house was the last straw, the final push I needed to execute my plan. As I got ready for bed, my phone kept buzzing. Marcus was probably piecing it all together at last. I turned it off, remembering something my grandfather used to say about the beach house: the best view comes after the hardest climb. Tomorrow, Marcus would see just how high I had climbed while he wasn't paying attention. The morning of the shareholders' meeting was clear and cold. I arrived at Parker Industries early, nodding at the security guards who only knew me as the CEO's wife. Today, that would change. The boardroom filled up quickly. I sat quietly in the back, watching Marcus work the room. He had always been good at this: the handshakes, the fake laughs, the illusion of control. But today, his smile was tight, his eyes flicking toward me, confusion and anger battling on his face. Sarah arrived last, wearing a designer dress I recognized. Marcus had bought it with company funds, according to the records. She hesitated when she saw me but quickly recovered, taking a seat near him. "Before we begin," Marcus said, standing at the head of the table, "I'd like to address some unusual circumstances. My wife seems to have confused her role here today." "Actually," I interrupted, standing, "I think you're the one confused about roles, Marcus." "Rachel, would you please distribute the documents?" My attorney moved around the table, handing out folders filled with evidence: Marcus's mismanagement, the affair with Sarah, the misuse of company funds, the questionable accounting practices, but the most important piece? Proof that I had quietly acquired majority control of the company through various investment groups. Marcus flipped through the pages, his face turning red. "This is ridiculous. These shares, this is impossible. I would have known." "Would you?" I asked, stepping forward. "You were too busy buying beach houses for your mistress to notice that your wife was becoming your biggest shareholder." The room fell silent. Board members scanned the documents, their expressions growing more serious by the second. Sarah had gone pale, likely realizing that the shares she had hastily sold had been part of my acquisition strategy. "As majority shareholder," I continued, "I move for an immediate vote of no confidence in Marcus Parker's leadership and call for his removal as CEO." Marcus shook his head. "You can't do this. This company is my family's legacy." "Was your family's legacy," I corrected, "before you started treating it like your personal bank account. The SEC is very interested in how you've been running things. By the way, those business trips with Sarah, the creative accounting, it's all documented." One by one, board members raised their hands in support of my motion. Marcus watched in horror as his power crumbled. Sarah slipped out of the room. Her resignation would be on my desk by morning. Marcus's voice dropped to a whisper. "Why?" I laughed, the sound sharp in the hushed room. "The beach house was just the final straw. This is about every time you dismissed me, every time you treated me like I was too stupid to understand real business. While you were busy playing CEO and sugar daddy, I was building something you couldn't see, because you never bothered to look." The vote was unanimous. Security arrived to escort Marcus out of the building. I turned to the board. "Parker Industries has been hiding behind a facade of success for too long. I prepared a restructuring plan to bring this company back to real profitability. My team will be reaching out to each department head to begin implementation immediately." Hours later, after the last board member had left, I sat in what had once been Marcus's office. "My office now." My phone buzzed with a text from the real estate attorney. The beach house transfer had been invalidated. Another buzz, this time from the SEC. They wanted to schedule a formal interview with Marcus. I leaned back in my chair and pulled out my grandfather's old photo album, the one I kept in my desk. There he was, standing proud in front of the beach house he built with his own hands. "Success isn't about what you own," he used to tell me, "it's about what you build." I had built something, all right. Not just a thriving consulting business that had quietly funded my takeover, but a strategy that exposed Marcus's weaknesses and saved Parker Industries from his mismanagement. My phone buzzed again. "Marcus. Marcus, I underestimated you." I smirked, typing back. "Me, yes, you did. The beach house keys are in your office box. Don't forget to turn in your company credentials." I closed the album and looked out at the city skyline. Marcus had chosen this building because he liked looking down on everything. I chose to keep the office because it reminded me that the best view comes after the hardest climb. The next morning, I arrived early. Old habits die hard, but this time, as I walked through Parker Industries' lobby, people nodded with respect, not polite dismissal. The security guard smiled. "Good morning, Miss Chen," he said, using my maiden name, the name I had built my consulting empire under, the name I had reclaimed now that the divorce papers were filed. "Good morning, Tom," I replied, stepping into the elevator. As the doors closed, I thought of Marcus, probably waking up in some luxury hotel, finally realizing what he had lost, not just his position or his company, but someone who could have been a true partner if he had ever bothered to see me as an equal. The beach house would need work. Sarah's renovations had stripped away its character, but that was okay. My grandfather always said, "The best things in life are the ones you rebuild yourself." I had a company to run, and this time, I would make sure it was built on something stronger than facades and illusions. Rachel met me at my office, holding the day's agenda. "Ready to begin?" I smiled, thinking of all the people who had underestimated me over the years. "I've been ready for a long time. Let's build something real."